the camera. Give it off. Give it off. Down. Give it.
French director Francois Truffaut famously said that there is no such thing as an anti-war film. His theory was that depictions of war in the cinema can't help but make combat look exciting even if you were against it, and thus ruin whatever intent the filmmaker might have had to instill an anti-war message. It's been a controversial statement ever since, but how true is it? One film that perhaps skirts this line is Spielberg's Saving Private Ryan, which isn't precisely intended to be an anti-war film per se, but rather a look at the awful necessity of the sacrifice of individual soldiers in World War II. The bleached-out color scheme and the unrelenting intensity of the opening scene were both intended to prevent unnecessary glamorization of the violence being portrayed, but the melodramatic twist later in the film undercut the randomness of real war and make you more and more aware that you're watching precisely that, a fictional representation of a war. But perhaps Saving Private Ryan's ultimate and ironically anti-war legacy lies in its inspiration for countless World War II video game series such as Medal of Honor and Call of Duty, which in turn made the war a virtual playground for millions of young gamers over the next decade.
Yeah, fucked up beyond all recognition, right? Get that right. Oh.
A more recent example of a film that's intended to be anti-war but winds up making it look fairly exciting is Avatar.
That's him. Get after him.
This is a movie that makes its humans villains so unrelentingly evil that you lose any sense of moral subtlety and simply become fascinated by all the awesome tech that they have at their disposal. I mean, would you rather ride around on a bird or pack one of those awesome mech suits or a billion-dollar hella fighter? One film that Roger Ebert said that Truffaut's theory doesn't extend to is Wolfgang Petersen's epic submarine adventure Das Boot. This movie predates most Gulf War media such as Jarhead and Generation Kill by decades, but anticipates one of their common themes. That is, the experience of war for many soldiers is not so much exciting, but instead consists of incredibly long periods of boredom, punctuated by short periods of pants-shitting terror.
220 Meter.
The film also portrays the rank-and-file sailors' increasingly bitter disillusionment with the Nazi regime, which culminates in an uncomfortable rendezvous with Nazi officers aboard a lavish luxury liner.
Herr Kapitänleutnant.
Nein, bitte. Ich nicht. Das ist der Kommandant.
Oh, Entschuldigung,
Two other films that I think manage to portray an anti-war sentiment convincingly are The Deer Hunter and The Thin Red Line. The Deer Hunter was one of the first films about the Vietnam War to come out in 1978 and really spared little in its depictions of its horrors, with civilian deaths, Viet Cong torture chambers, alcoholic bitter soldiers, and of course the infamous Russian roulette scenes.
Pull it. Go ahead.
It's a film that made the experience of war seem like something that would inevitably lead you to become a mere shell of a man, incapable of enjoying even the simple pleasure of hunting that once enthralled you and awkwardly singing God Bless America in a bar to memorialize your dead friends.
God bless America, my home, sweet home.
The Thin Red Line, for its part, portrays most of the men in command of its army as career-oriented blowhards, willing to let their soldiers die for the sake of another medal on their own chest. Death is sudden, random, and almost impossible to avoid. Good men are driven mad, and what's more, the soldier we follow through most of the film is convinced that all living things are essentially the same, rendering him incapable of committing to the war that goes on around him.
Truth is, you can't take straight duty in my company. You'll never be a real soldier. Not in God's world.
I'm not even sure if I agree with Truffaut's statement, and while war films do often face the danger of glamorizing their subjects, there are many films that make it seem like an absolutely horrible thing to experience or live through. For example, The Battle of Algiers, On Cindy more recently, Born on the 4th of July, All Quiet on the Western Front, Paths of Glory, and so on. In fact, I think war films face fewer problems in this area than gangster films do, where movies like Scarface, The Godfather, and Goodfellas have wound up inspiring all kinds of terrible behavior despite attempting to portray a degenerate part of society. But I'm curious to hear about what you think. Do you think that war films inherently glamorize war despite their best efforts? Are there filmmaking techniques like slow motion or exceptional special effects that filmmakers attempting to make an anti-war film should avoid? Or is it even necessary that every film that comes out should be anti-war? I'm curious to know what you think about all these issues, so please do leave a comment down below and we'll continue the conversation in there. Thanks, and we'll see you again soon on Screen.com.